NERDSoul.
Yeah. Late ill kid at OneYoungsta holding it down. Bring that street geek and nerd soul. What is up, my people? Today, all year, coming with another wonderful episode of Doppio Dope. I'm not by myself. I'm with NERDSoul. Like, say what's up. and the magnificent, philanthropic. You've seen him on movies such as Independence Day. You've seen him on television shows, TV shows like Supernatural, like Gotham, like even The Shield. This man has talent in spades. I'm talking about the one, the only, Clement Bryant.
I mean, first of all, don't lie to the people, though. You know what I mean? Just the people know, like, I am not a stand-in for Will Smith. I look more.
This guy's been in stuff.
I look more like Steve Urkel than Will Smith. Let's put it that way. Self Joan, I'm done. There you go. But nah, man, I'm just I'm all right. How you doing?
Not bad, not bad. Of course, guys, we are here. You see the title. We're chilling out, talking about Avatar. That's right. The whole series. You know what I'm saying? Talking about Aang. Talking about Korra, stuff we loved, stuff we hated, stuff that was awesome, stuff that took us off guard, whatever. I guess I'll throw it to you first. How did you get into either Last Airbender or Korra?
Well, I think we're starting in reverse. I got into Korra because of Avatar. I've never really been like, you know, Avatar leans heavily, its animation leans heavily on like anime and like storylines that like are anime involved. But this was like the first thing, like why was like it was coming out. I was like experimenting and like learning things about like KURO, Cowboy Bebop. Like I was learning about these bigger animes, Evangelion. So like I was like kind of picking and choosing and watching things in here and there. And then Avatar really kind of got my attention, not because of the animation, but the story. It was the story of someone who didn't want, didn't kind of like rejected this destiny that was thrust upon him. You know what I mean? And he super rejected it, and so much that he inadvertently, you know, throws himself in an iceberg. And so, and his big magical animal Appa. So it was like, okay, and that's the way that I was like, oh wow, this is different, something different. And the thing about, I think, the universality of the storyline hit me. Like, you have Katara, who's trying to figure out, okay, I want to be this great waterbender. I'm trying to learn skills, but you know, I'm stuck with what I have here. And Sokka kind of had the same story, but also you kind of had the story of, you know, they lost their mom, they were younger. You know, there was a lot of things that going on. Then you have Toph, who's blind, but there's awesome Airbender in season 2, or Earthbender in season 2. And so those storylines really hit me because I'm someone that deals with a lot of that, deals with the anxiety, always wanted to be good at my job, always wanting to, you know, try to be more than I am. Try to make sure that everyone around me is protected, happy. And I really vibe with those feelings. I really get, that's me. I've made no attempt to kind of show, like, you're saying, oh, what's the little man doing? What's going on with little man?
He wants to stand up, but I'm like, you can't stand up. But
yeah, I feel you. But like, it's something like I've never shied away. Like, I deal with anxiety, I deal with imposter syndrome, and I deal with, you know, all of these feelings, and I'm somewhat sensitive, emotional. So like, having that in a show where I can just turn it on and vibe with it and be like, this is me. I identify with the storyline was what got me into Avatar.
Okay.
Well, I know that was a long roundabout way of explaining it. No.
That's interesting. You know? Like, that's interesting because on the flip, the story didn't grab me first. I remember some guy, trying to remember, I worked with this guy, and he was like, "Hey, I know you like, comics and animation and stuff." And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "There's this show on Nickelodeon. It's called Avatar, and I think you might like it. It's like, powers and fighting and stuff." And I was like, "Whatever. It's on Nickelodeon." Nickelodeon ain't got nothing for me.
I had the same reaction.
I tuned in. The episode that I saw was the one where they drill into Ba Sing Se. So there was
that was the one where I started. That was the one where I started.
Fights. So there's like mad fights on that episode. So I was like, "Yo, this joint is kind of sweet."
Bruh,
and I had to like go back and watch the episodes before, but I was like, "Yo, this is cool." Kind of like, mixing a little bit of anime in there with the American animation, you know what I'm saying? Or technically the American style with a little bit of anime. I was like, "Yo, this is cool."
Yeah.
And, you're following these kids, kind of like, the ragtag team, like the Goonies or whatever, Stand By Me or any of that stuff. Like, like the kids that, even though when you think about it, it's like, so parents just let their kids go on adventures out in these streets?
That was my thing. I was like, wait, what? But then I was like,
my mama would be like, "You can ride your bike to the end of the block and you can ride it back."
That part. And you do not go outside the neighborhood or else you're getting smacked. Like, it was
it's like
we kind of had
they
the same
don't went to a whole nother nation. They went to like multiple nations.
And the story of Aang is what, 10 or 11 when he's first told that he's the Avatar, right?
And
being told
Zuko is what? Zuko is 16 when we meet him?
I think he's like 15 or 16.
Yeah, he's 13 when he gets burned.
Right.
And then, he's like 15 or 16 when we meet him.
Yeah.
And it's just like all these mad young parents don't be caring.
Nah, like, I mean, but not in that show. I mean, they care.
TV.
I mean, say what you will about, Sokka and Katara's dad, they cared, but he had to go off to war. The dude that didn't care was Zuko's father. Zuko's father was horrible parent, and and you could see why.
Public enemy number one.
Right, and so like, but yeah, like the fact of the matter is, you're told at 11 years old that you are basically the savior of the world, and you have to protect the world. I don't care who you are at 11 years old. Right.
Spirits and
humans.
And
humankind.
And it's like, you got to keep the peace. You got to keep the peace.
Right. You got to keep the peace. And I can't imagine being told at 11 years old, you hold the key to the world being peaceful. Like, I'd be like, wait, what? So, and I was like, but that hooked me. And when you're talking about the episode of the drill, I remember that episode where Aang ran up the wall. He runs up the wall and he comes back down and bang, and jumps right on that spike. And I was like, word, what is this? What is this?
And then you had Azula and her crew with May, and I can't remember the other girl's name. They got, May's throwing knives, other girls hitting you with the chi blocker skills.
It's like,
so
yeah, man.
So it's like, yo, this joint is crazy.
Crazy, man.
I was super impressed. Like Toph, Sokka, what I'm saying? All of them gelled well. The animation was on point. The voice acting was on point. And I quickly found myself wrapped up in a show that was probably geared towards like 10 to 13 boys. And I was like, yo, this show is the hotness.
But I mean, but now that it's on Netflix, you kind of see like how like, we might have been that young when the show came on, but even people like I just turned 35 a week and a half ago. I'm still finding themes in both of Korra and Avatar that I relate to. That I'm like, dude, the writing is on point. And when you get to Korra,
and the comedy's decent. It's never
It's never
like too comedy-ish.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like the funniest moment was when you meet Toph for the first time, and you have the boulder, and the boulder goes, like you have that dialogue. He's like, the boulder feels conflicted about going after a young girl, and then Toph clapped back, and then the boulder goes like, the boulder is no longer it's over his conflicted feelings, and it's gonna pay you a knuckle sandwich or some crap that he said. I was just like,
yo, Toph kept that hardcore energy like the whole time, man.
Point. But I was like, are they making fun of The Rock? And then I only found out literally 2.5 weeks ago that was Mick Foley. That was Mankind. It was. Wow. I was like, wait, what? And I was like, and so I'm like, wait, what? They got half of The Rock and Sock connection to voice someone that's purely based off The Rock? It's just like the level of thinking. You're like, then, okay, I'm going to do a social media term right now. Their minds. just their minds, right?
Now,
so, yeah.
I will say rewatching it because luckily at this time, I also have CBS All Access and Legend of Korra is on there. So I've rewatched Last Airbender and I'm rewatching Korra right now. And one thing that I have noticed about Aang is both of course, each character has to have their hang up. But, and even though it's only 3 seasons, on Aang's side, his passive nature and his indecisiveness and inability to like just put his foot down wears on me in a way it didn't back then. Back then, I was just like, oh man, I'm having so much fun watching this. Now I'm watching, I'm like, dude, we've spent like 2-3 whole episodes telling you, you have to make a decision. Whatever it is, but you got to make it. It's like,
see, but that's the thing about like
4 episodes telling you that you need to make a decision, and it's getting on my nerves. And it's weird because it didn't back then. But now I'm like, dude, you got your friends telling you, you got old avatars telling you, everybody's like, look,
Kyoshi,
you're going to have to make a decision.
And I think
you are what you are. Can't change it. So you got to do something.
But I was gonna say I wasn't, my bad for trying to interrupt you, but I think that's the thing of like, when you're watching it, you're younger and you're like, okay, I'm just vibing with the powers, with the storyline, whatever. But now that you're an adult, you have a kid, you have a wife, you have bills to pay, you have a job to keep. You're kind of seeing that indecisiveness to like the same things when you're young and when you're old wear on you and hit you differently. Like,
true.
like I can see that, but like I'll say when I was younger, I responded more to Avatar. But now that I'm older, I respond more to Korra because I've gone through more things. Like the end of the first season where you see Korra and she goes to the cliff of those glaciers and she cries and she's like, the interpretation of that is she's thinking about killing herself and she's thinking about all the stuff that's going on, right? At least from like all the research I've done about that part. And then she reconciles with herself only through the power of Aang coming to her.
Yeah.
And
that was
Aang
a dope scene too.
Dude, like I cannot watch that scene to this day without crying.
Yeah, that was a dope
whole
scene because
like
she was like, hey, it's over. I'm done.
Right.
This is all
she lost
done.
Her powers. She can't come out and tell Mako how she feels about him, and all this stuff is going on. And so, like, and even Katara can't give her powers back. And the only person that can is the Avatar in all of her past lives. Mm-hmm. And when you hear that moment of, you think it's Tenzin, then it's like you're waiting for that whole season to see Aang. Where's Aang? He's supposed to be a spirit guy. Aang comes in, and he is the only being or spiritual being in the old Avatar lives that can bring her some sort of semblance or hope of I can continue my journey as the Avatar, dude.
Yeah, and then a cool thing about
it hits me on so many levels,
Word. And like in that season, you get to see him in a lot of flashbacks where even Tenzin was like, well, maybe you connected to the spiritual side and you thought it was a dream or something like that. She was like, oh, well, I'm seeing these visions or whatever. And like Tenzin was like, yeah, that's probably what you're experiencing. And to The Last Airbender, who I was interested in most was like Aang and Katara. I was like, they have this great relationship. Let's see where it goes. And then at the end, you're like, okay, cool, makes sense. But the second time around, I'm more, of course, I have a child now. I'm more interested in Iroh and Zuko. And that relationship hits me a lot differently, and it's more important to me now due to
having little man.
yeah. And it's like, passing on those, those gems, and we see him change and turn and become a better man, or become a young man. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, wow, like this kid sucked. He was horrible to people around him. He was horrible to his uncle. He was essentially murderous, except the fact that it's Nickelodeon. And through struggling internally and externally, we see him slowly change to the point where dude just breaks down crying. And I'm just like, yo, word. That's
Zuko,
yeah, that's Zuko. Zuko's that dude. But I will say this on. Oh, go ahead.
No, okay. All right, forgive the reference because everything that happened over the weekend with Kanye. But I'm gonna say Kanye. Kanye had the. I'm gonna say this. Zuko had the best arc of all time. Done. I'm just kidding.
Zuko's
I'm being stupid, but Zuko's arc.
Because he had the sister issue, he had the dad issue, he had the missing mom issue, then finding out that he's a product of the Avatar and of his great grandfather. Then there's so much. Then you got Uncle Iroh. He tries
who
to
lost his
good.
own son and bro.
Tons of stuff.
Just the storytelling, and I'll say the voice acting in both shows.
Oh yeah.
Dude, getting Mark Hamill to play Zuko's father.
That was surprising.
Bruh.
That was surprising.
I was like, oh wow, they got Mark Hamill. They got Mark Hamill.
Yeah, that was
Whitman, all these dope people, and I'm just like, man, I feel like Avatar, they bought it, and then with Korra, they bought it even more.
Yo, So let's talk about Korra for a second.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry,
man. If you enjoyed any of the fight scenes in The Last Airbender,
dude.
Shouts to LeSean Thomas who worked on there. Keon Ryu, he's another artist that worked on there. It was like a animation supervisor and stuff. Yo, the fight scenes, whether they're with the chi blockers with Mon, or even with the son and daughter from Unalog in season 2.
Dude.
It's just the fight scenes are on another level. They were yo, let's ratchet this up.
They did.
And it's dumb nice.
Her fight scenes with Tarlok, I was like,
and then bringing the bloodbending back around,
bro. You know when they brought it back, that whole storyline of bringing the bloodbending back, and then you find out, actually, oh wait, he's the son of, and I was just like,
because the first vision, you're like, oh, it's Aang, he's at court.
You're trying to figure out what's going on.
Kind of he's doing his regular, kind of Avatar duties. You see another, it's still in court. It's just oh, well, I don't know. And then the further we go on, you're like, oh, snap.
Yeah.
And that fight with Tarlok in his room where he had the water, the I don't know, the water wall or whatever.
It was frozen,
Crazy.
Man.
Yo, man.
Dude, even...
As good as The Last Airbender is, Korra is a step up in so many ways.
I gotta say,
technically, the fight scenes. Now, I will say, I jumped on Aang. I will say this about Korra. Aang has his indecisiveness, Korra has her
I know where you're gonna go. She's too aggressive too.
I wouldn't mind the aggressiveness if you would stop and listen to somebody for 2 seconds.
But that's the thing. She's so gung ho and so aggressive. That's why I need to be aggressive. And before anyone says anything, it's not an issue of her being a woman or a man. It's just the fact of I'm just saying, like, there's two different disciplines in the way that both of the Avatar acts. Aang he doesn't want to kill anyone. He is kind of indecisive until he's forced to make a decision, not out of what his friends are saying, but out of just running out of pure time.
Yeah, like
it gets to a point where
even what he did with Ozai was kind of like a cop out.
No.
I mean, even though it worked, it worked for everybody. But
I think,
like, I love, what's the one, the Kyoshi Warriors, that Avatar. She was like, look, he gotta go, period. Goodbye. She was like, that's my girl.
Kyoshi, yeah. Kyoshi,
she was like, look, go on and kill him. We ain't got time for all this.
Yeah, no, even like that scene where, scene where he's like meditating, he's talking to like 4 or 5 of his old selves, and they're all saying the same thing but different things. And she's just like, yo, you need to kill him. She's like, and he goes like, I never should have talked to Kyoshi. And I was like, but that's the thing though.
I like how because he goes into that state and he's like, Momo, he like basically says like, yo, Momo, as you can see, he's like, yo, Momo, I'm doing this because I need help. I'm like, when I was watching it, I literally said this out loud. I was like, no, you need somebody to confirm what you already want to do. Like, you're looking for someone to validate what you want to do. You're not looking for guidance.
But even Roku,
because 4 avatars have already told you. Your friends have already told you. The monk dude, the little like Gandhi man or whatever, he already told you. The love guru or whoever, all these people already told you. You're trying to get someone to validate what you want to do.
And none of them are going to co-sign it but that's also the thing. That's also thinking about an adulthood where it's like, where you might talk to your friends about it, but all of them are going to say, their good friends are going to tell you what you need to do, not what you want to hear.
Yeah.
And that was what I picked up from it. But even Roku told him, my mistake in trying to let Sozin, who was Ozai's father, get away with stuff, led to everything that's going on that you're dealing with right now.
Yep.
So you have to be.
He said something like, my inaction or whatever led to
exactly.
this. So in other words, his message was, don't be inactive. Make your move fast and don't waste time. That was his message. Kyoshi said he gotta go. Well, the other guy, you didn't really kill him. She was like, I don't see a difference.
Yeah. And then when you get to Korra,
we were going up against each other and he ended up dead.
Right. And when you get to Korra, Tenzin, because like, and one of the things that Korra has to learn airbending. She has to learn how to be an airbender. And her aggressive nature, Tenzin's trying to tell her, you can't tackle this the same way that you tackle everything else. Because you have to act differently. And so through all of that and dealing with Tarlock, but also dealing with Unilock, and also, you know, where it all started was Amon. You can't be this aggressive with trying to deal with threats sometimes. It's great to like be ready for it, but there's a part where you have to like kind of sit back and try to figure out what the best plan of action is rather than just going headstrong. Yeah. And that's why she's gonna learn.
Amon played her, Tarlock played her, Amon played her. Like,
Unilock was the worst of them all, bro. Like, honestly, when you look at
because she turned against her dad and Tenzin for him.
I mean, but like the villains that Korra had, like I'll say, like pretty much Aang had to deal with like Jet and like a couple other people, and you had Ozai, right, and Zuko.
But Jet ain't
whereas Korra, right, but like
to like,
but still, but like where you're talking about like the antagonist, Korra had Amon, Unalaq, Tarlock, Kuvira, And and old boy, I forget what his name was. He was the worst of them all. Henry Rollins' character. You know what I'm talking about. I forget his name.
I can see him, but I can't think of his name.
Like,
I can't think of his name right now, but
I know who you're. I like.
And speaking of those later seasons,
not here.
The dude that had the eye thing, they brought that back.
Yeah.
Because
right,
when she closed that dome around his head,
bro, I lost it. I was like Korra, and I think the thing about Korra, I know we keep on going back to Avatar, is Korra had to deal with a lot more crap than Aang did. She had to deal with a lot more. Like, she lost Korra her powers, like having her uncle betray her, losing falling in and out of love with Mako,
because she was with Mako, then she wasn't with Mako. With him again, then she wasn't with him. Then her and Asami got together. And then
but they didn't get together until like the very end.
They walked off into the sunset together.
They did.
So we assumed they.
I read some of the comics afterwards, but they did. But she had to do it. But like the moment where things got really bad for her, outside of the end of season 1, was Zahir, because what Zahir did to her lasted from all the way from season 3 to a few episodes into season 4. How kind of Kubera came to power was because Korra wasn't there to deal with it, because she was just dealing with her own stuff and what Zahir did to her. Zahir put her in a wheelchair, like, for all intents and purposes. So
because people were like, "Yo, the Avatar, what's going to happen?
Right?
She can't do nothing." And she was kind of like she had to go through. But once again, why did she? Here's Korra's issues. If you would just sit down and listen for like 5 minutes, half of this season could be taken care of, because Janora locked up in the spirit world. Why? Because you wouldn't listen. Because you know everything. Because you're the Avatar. And nobody tell you nothing.
And there's so many lessons in that. And as a kid, as someone younger, you're not going to pick up on that. But as an adult watching these shows, I'm like, damn. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like,
as a grown man that hit around 31 or 32, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, Dad was right about 98% of the stuff he said. Dad was right. like, Dad used to get on my nerves, but yeah, Dad was right. Like, these guys were knuckleheads. I shouldn't have went there. I shouldn't have went there. I shouldn't have did this. But you just don't know until you get older. But like, it was mad. Even like Mako was like, look, we ain't fighting you. Like, we ain't we ain't hating.
We're on your
help the best we can.
And I will say the one thing that kind of changed my view about certain things was, in both shows there is a theme of spirituality. In both shows. Both of these shows help me reckon my own feelings of spirituality.
Dope.
In some ways, this show made me more spiritual, because when I moved here, I don't want to play the victim, and I don't want to get too much into my story because it's not about me.
But I feel you though.
But there were so many things, some of them, but like there were a lot of things that I dealt with coming here that when I rewatched this, it kind of made me realize I got to get spiritual again. One part, I'm not attributing all that to the shows, but like it was one part that was like, man, I got to get spiritual again. I have to find it in myself to be able to like continue to go forward. I can't wait for the destiny. And I was like, and I'm not trying to, but like when you watch
LA,
a show like
LA
this,
is definitely a city that will test you spiritually.
Yeah.
LA,
So
you know
like,
what I'm saying? It'll test you.
It helped me. It helped me. And to this day, it still helps me. And so I think going through the show and watching the show when I was not, in the best of states, dude, this show really kind of helped me change my life. And I know it's a lot, but like
No.
It did.
I
It
see what
did.
you're saying
When I think
because
about it.
there's a good way of having life imitate art and also having the ability to grab deeper themes from the stuff that we enjoy, whether it's comics, TV shows, movies, music, whatever. Being able to take this and have a deeper conversation about anything like would Superman do this, or why would Superman do this, or why would
we should talk
Korra
about Man
do
of Steel
that,
at one point.
like anything like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's I can understand why, especially depending on some of the things that you dealt with, and then also seeing like the spiritual connection here. I can definitely see because
and
me being here in LA by myself for like a long time before even Lisa came, like there were a lot of times when I was like, yo, I gotta spiritually get right because LA will test you, boy.
Bro, like
there's I mean, I'm sure like any other big city, but LA is
different. LA is its own beast, man.
Animal. Because of Hollywood and stuff too.
Hollywood
kind of like ratchets it up.
I mean,
so that doesn't help.
Yeah. And the people, and I mean, I think, and I'm not trying to be melodramatic on it, but it's like, I appreciate, and basically what I'm going on this, I appreciate the level of detail and the care that everyone brought to both of these shows. Because there's some shows where you can tell like they're throwing it in, they're writing it because they're lazy, blah blah blah. They got to get done. Avatar is different.
Yeah.
But like I think Avatar is one of these shows that you can watch with the whole family. Little man. Hey.
I've actually been watching it. I've been watching it with him. That's why he's like, Avatar? Like, whatever.
He's like, Avatar. He knows Aang and everything. And it's like...
Yeah, he knows Aang.
I think he knows saying, don't let him watch Korra yet. But like... one of the things I appreciate...
Korra with me, but Korra kind of... I mean...
Korra gets...
Season one is essentially... the end of season one is essentially like a murder-suicide. Like,
what you said? What was that?
The end of season one is essentially a murder-suicide.
I mean, when they're on the boat, old boy explodes the boat, and then he's like, when he's like reconnecting with his brother, I was like, bro, like what?
And they were crying, and I was
and they were crying. It was like
deep,
and it got so deep, and it's like, and even to the point of, I don't want to distract from Korra. The deeper storyline in season 2 or season 4, or I'm mixing up my seasons, but when you meet Sue, okay, Beifong's sister, like when you meet her sister and you see there's a lot of stuff in their family because Toph, the way that Toph raised them, like. That alone, that storyline alone, man, was ridiculous.
Yeah,
in a good way.
Toph is, you kind of see like, Toph was a piece of work even as an adult. Like,
she never really changed. She was just like, she's like, and Toph was the one who never really changed. Katara did, Aang did, Sokka did a little bit. When you see all the stuff, but through and through, Toph was Toph. Toph stayed Toph.
Yeah.
And I appreciate
Toph stayed
that.
Strong.
What's he pointing at?
He pointed the TV. But Toph is a trip. So, all right. So I wanted to talk because you sent me a.
I was gonna bring it up. Yeah.
The joint John Boyega.
Right.
So I'll let you tee that up. I'll let you.
So I was looking at it, and I think I brought it up because I want to ask you. So John Boyega is a huge anime fan. It's been confirmed. Dude's into anime. Yeah. I've seen him tweet our mutual friend Cheyenne a couple of times. And I'm like, wait, what? So, she's in the anime. I'm like, wait, what? What's going on? But like, and I'm like, so he's deep in it, so he knows Avatar. And one of the things he thought about when one of the producers was coaching him, he was like, one of the producers of the show was like, I think John Boyega loves Avatar. And I'm paraphrasing the situation, but then Boyega brings up, let's do Avatar, another spinoff, but let's do it in Africa. And I was like, huh.
Yeah.
I wonder.
I mean, with the amount of avatars, you could go forward in time or you could go back in time. Because each avatar is a different person with their different stories, with their different families, whatever. So, you could go back in time. You could go 10, 20 avatars back, or you could go 10, 20 avatars forward. You know what I'm saying? Instead of going 70 years, I think in the future, you could go 270 years. You know what I'm saying? You could always do something like that.
I would love to see it. I think I'm personally, I'm not mixed on seeing an avatar, an African-focused avatar, but I also want to see one of the past avatars. I want to see Kyoshi's story. I want to see her story, right? And I do think there is merit to an African avatar because I would love to see that, especially if you look at it like 100 years, 200 years after everything, after the events of Korra, right? Mm-hmm. You would think that the nation's going to evolve, the world's going to evolve, you're going to have different parts. Kind of like how Pangea eventually became what our world is now. So
with so many, Avatar could easily be sort of a time traveling series where the African avatar could be way in the past, way in the future. It could be the next one. Because since the avatar doesn't have to be directly tied. It's not like a family lineage thing. So you can that's the good thing about Avatar as a series is like, it can be whenever. It could be the avatar, like I said, it could be the avatar right before, Roku, or it could be the avatar, like we said, it could be 400 years after Korra. You know what I'm saying?
And that would be dope. Yeah. And I think if you did that, the one thing that they would have to try to figure a way around is Korra lost her past lives. She lost access to her past lives. I think it was like season 3. She was like everyone past her, before her, she doesn't have a connection anymore to. She's still the avatar, but she doesn't have that connection anymore. I can't remember if she got him back or not, but I don't think she did.
I kind of swore she got him back. Maybe she didn't.
I thought she lost connection somewhere. Yeah.
I'm at the end of season 2 now, so I'll let you know later on if she gets him back, because I know her connection was slightly severed in season 2, but she got it back when she reconnected with Rava, so that's all good.
I think so. I can't remember. It's been like a year since I last watched, and a year has been, this 2020 has been ridiculous. But
it's for a timeline.
I mean, but like I would love to see that. I would say if they would do an African focused avatar, I would want to see someone who is, a female, like another female storyline. Because I think there's merit to that. I think that would do really well, but also would be like, it's a story that I'd want to see told. You know what I mean?
What up? And I remember, because when you brought that up to me, I was like, oh, shouts to Marcus Williams, Tuskegee Heirs, indie comic book creator. He's super dope, but he does a lot of like different riffs on like storylines for, he does stuff with like what if Akeem from Coming to America, like what if like Zamunda and Wakanda teamed up for something. Like he does a lot of stuff like that. And he did this piece for the legend, for Avatar, The Legend of Abioye, and it's this African, Avatar, and like the artwork is sick because Marcus Williams is crazy, but it was so good, it got so much traction. People actually made a petition to so Nickelodeon can make it, and I was like, what? Don't get me wrong, Marcus Williams' art is crazy, but it's just one of those things where it's like, things take a life of their own. And I was looking at it, I was like, you know what? I wouldn't be mad. But then on the sneak tip, like, don't be giving them your stuff. Just make your own.
I mean, and the other thing is,
don't be giving them your. So like on one side I was like, yo, that'd be dope, and on the other side I'm like, shoot, don't be giving them your stuff. Don't be giving them your ideas.
I mean, I agree with that, but also if that were a thing, he would have to work with Michael and Brian, the creators of the show. So like,
and
even
from a couple of interviews, it seemed like they're done with it. I remember seeing a couple of panels and a couple of interviews where they seemed like, not like they were angry with Nickelodeon, but maybe their relationship with Nickelodeon at that time wasn't the greatest. Maybe that.
Maybe. Yeah. But also they're working on the live action reboot for Netflix. The creators.
Word.
So
which I'm like, I'm one of those people. I want to see some new story. No, like we've seen that. No. We've seen that. Like give us a Avatar that's like, it's still in the same world, but like Avatar before Aang, or Avatar between Kyoshi and whoever, or something. Something like. I'm like, so you put the animated series on your service, and then we're gonna watch a shot for shot almost remake of that animated series. And
we don't know if it's gonna be shot for shot yet. And the other part of it is, I think on some level, they're trying to make up for the movie.
Dude, bro, you can't. It's over. It's already made.
The movie, like, okay. I'll say this as someone who works behind the scenes now, and not that I'm trying to bring up my job again, but like, it's. I never try to like really, outwardly dismiss an adaptation or a property because I'm behind it. But the movie, bruh, like they did so much in the movie that I was like, what? Like even not even on just like not even. Oh no!
It's like man.
I watched it and I wasn't as hardcore a fan at the time. I was just like,
I know.
But just like I was like all the casting decisions, the way they pronounce Aang, they pronounce it Aang. Like I was like, what is going on? Like what is this fallacy, bro? Like what are you doing here? And I was behind Night at the time because I loved Sixth Sense, I loved Unbreakable, I even liked parts of Signs, and I was like, all right, let me see how this does.
Signs.
And then I watched the movie, and I was like, oh no, man, like, bro, how do you go from doing Unbreakable to doing this? And I'm like, and just the headache. Even if you go on TikTok, people are much more savage about that movie than I am. They're like, dude, I
see. I've never seen it. I've never seen the movie because my boy saw it, and he immediately came home and was like, "Never watched that ever." It was like, yeah. So I've never seen the movie.
Like, and I'm not talking about the cast. It was just the decisions that were made. I was like, what, bruh? Like what? And I was like, what? I was like, what? So. And that's just not my opinion. That is this. If anybody who knows Avatar watches the movie, it's like,
it's not great.
Like, it's not great.
I remember seeing the trailer and being like, you sure you want to go that route? And then my boy came home. He called me, was immediately like, no, never see this. He was like, I took this one. I took this bullet for you.
I was just like, what? So I think on some level they're trying to make they want another shot adapting it for live action, and because also the part of this is, even though that there's a younger generation that's aware of the cartoon, they're not gonna look at the live action reboot. They're not looking at the cartoon or the reboot with the same reverence that we are.
Right.
So.
I don't know. I mean, I wish them the best.
Just to play devil's bad.
I wish them the best, but I'm always like, yo, show me some new hotness. Like, and I mean, unless it's something that hasn't been represented before. Like, say it's something that hasn't been represented. Like, say if it was a book, and we hadn't seen it like animated or anything before, I'd be like, cool, let's do it. But we already have an animated series that's pretty top quality. I'm like,
yeah,
it's not. Why are we gonna watch the same story again? Even if you throw some twists in it, then we have to ask the question: well, which one is real? Which one is canon? Which one isn't? You know, it's like, look, just make something new. Can you make something new, hotness, please? Just make something new. There's other avatars that existed. Just make something new, and we'd be cool.
I mean, and for all their sake, I know they've got to be evaluating somehow, like, you know, an African avatar. There's weight to that. There's no reason why that should not be a story. It's just now. I
can see it working out.
I can see it working out too, but I also see what story you're trying to tell. I think with an African avatar in these times, that is going to be the chief defining reason of tell the story to make it. What story are you trying to tell, and who is the character, and what is his or her motivation?
Yeah, I could see that working. I wouldn't be mad at it. I'd be like, yo, word. Especially if we got folks like that worked on Korra. I'd be like, yo, let's do this. I'm like, this is the hotness. Let's go for it. Let's bust this down. I'm ready. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm ready to kill it, and I'm ready to watch it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, and I think the other thing is, when we talk about Avatar, and we'll say this, Avatar gave us Dave Filoni. Like, Dave Filoni came from Avatar. Like, so just the amount of talent that was on both shows and the talent that can be, knowing that they have a great track record of not one but two shows. Because you watch Avatar, you're like, okay, and then you hear about Streetwear, you're like, I don't know, bro. And then you watch it, you're like,
yo, this is straight dope.
This is fire. And so now they've got not one but two episodes or two shows that they've done flawlessly. I think they can do an African not a live action, but an African Avatar, and I'd be down to watch it. But what's the story? Who are they trying to tell? Who are they identified with? And how has the world changed?
Yeah, like, is it, you know, what is going on? Because we kind of get that sense in, we kind of get that sense in Korra. Like, all right, things have sort of gotten better, but there's this little beef between benders and non-benders. So, you know, like, what kind of issues will our new or old Avatar face? You know, what will they go through? You know what I'm saying? What will be their cross to bear?
You know, and I just think when we talk about Avatar and Korra, I think anyone who has not watched the show should definitely watch the show. Whether if you don't like animation or not, watch the show for the story. The story alone, chef kiss. And like, you know, like, it's dope. It's dope. So, you know, but I will say it looks like you got to go because little man is trying to skate around and he's got a lot of energy going on right now.
He's trying to take me out.
I mean, he's trying to take you out. He's trying to take you out like Kyoshi took out what's his face, the Earth King, whatever.
Oh. So
sorry, I had to put the reference in.
Holla at me. I'm gonna holla at you. Down in the comments. Let's talk Avatar. Love the series. We just wanted to chill out and talk about it for a second because, you know, Avatar is back. We've been able, well, not back, but we've been able to watch it on Netflix again and reminisce on it and all that good stuff. And the show is awesome. So before we get out of here, Clement Bryant, say peace.
Peace.
Hey guys. NERDSoul, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all in places. YouTube is the main spot. Of course, podcast for listening, Spotify music, all that jazz. Thanks for coming through. From us to you, we're just saying thank you for watching and peace.
Peace.